bizarre stories from subscribers.
Hi Leo, Augusto, and Grandma, I'm Gene, a 12-year-old boy.
My story happened a few months ago, and I believe it will mark my life forever. My brother and I were going to sleep because the next day we had class at 7 in the morning. When I was falling asleep, I felt a touch from behind as if someone was hugging me. At first, I thought it was my mom or my dad coming to say goodnight, but when I turned around, there was no one there. Then, that feeling of someone hugging me happened again, but this time it was stronger. I turned around quickly and again there was no one there. Could it be my brother playing a prank on me? He was sleeping on the bunk above. That must be it, right, man? Just trying to scare me, but I ended up letting it go. The next day, I went to ask my mom if she knew anything about it. And I got the news that my great uncle had passed away that night. He was very fond of me and my brother. I told my brother about it after school, and he said he felt the same thing last night. Someone hugged him, a feeling of an embrace, and he got scared, thinking it was something supernatural. Could it have been our great uncle's soul saying goodbye to us or something like that, because the coincidence was just too much, right? Thank you very much for reading my story. Leo, Augusto, and Grandma, my brother 3 years younger than me, likes you a lot. Hugs. Are you looking for any Leo, Augusto, and Grandma comic books, my friends? Just add this WhatsApp that's showing up for you and message there, bro. You'll get a list of available comic books, alright? There are physical and digital versions. Message there and get your comic book made by Leo, Augusto, and Grandma. My name is Joana, and since I was a child, I've seen things that don't exist. It's not that I want to, but they appear like shadows dancing on the walls. Sometimes it's hard to know what's real and what comes from my mind. But luckily there's Bingo, my dog. He's my guide, my protector. When Bingo wags his tail, I know something is real, something is there. When he stands still, I understand that there must be something wrong. It was just an ordinary afternoon. I was playing in my room, drawing on a blank piece of paper, when I heard my mother's voice calling from the kitchen, "Joana, come here and help me." I smiled, happy to hear her voice. Bingo was lying at my feet, but as soon as I got up, he stayed quiet, not moving. I went to the kitchen, but as I entered, something made me stop. My mother stood with her back to me, slicing fruit. I called her, but Bingo stayed still. He stood still at my bedroom door, looking at me with a worried look. Mom. She didn't turn around, but I could see her hair swaying. Something didn't feel right. Bingo's voice echoed in my head. "Don't trust her, Joana. It's a trap." I went back to my room, confused and nervous. If Bingo didn't react, what does that mean? In the days that followed, I saw the situation repeat itself. Whenever I heard my mom calling, I would go to the kitchen and there she was, always with her back turned, doing something ordinary like cooking or setting the table. But Bingo never moved. His look told me that something was wrong. Soon after, while I was in the living room, I heard the front door open. Bingo immediately got up, tail wagging, and ran to the entrance, right? I followed him and found my mom. She wasn't the same as before. What do you mean? She was just in the kitchen, crouched down, smiling and petting Bingo. "Hi, my love, how are you? Are you hungry?" Here's something to think about. I was frozen, unsure what to think. "Mom, weren't you just in the kitchen a moment ago?" She looked at me confused. "Joana, I just got here. What do you mean by that?" Bingo was jumping around her, as happy as ever. But the other mom was still there in the kitchen. What was going on? Every time I saw one of them, the other seemed to disappear into another room. One was in the kitchen and the other in the living room. One was organizing the closet while the other was sitting on the couch. I tried to explain it to my dad, but he just smiled and said it was just my imagination. But I knew it was more than that. One night I decided to do an experiment. I waited until the kitchen mom appeared. Then I went there, right? The room? Bingo was with me, always alert. While I looked at the mirror, I saw the mom, with long hair and empty eyes, watching me. It was a shadow, something that shouldn't be there. I ran to the living room. My mom was there, watching television, and Bingo immediately went to her, wagging his tail and jumping. Happy, the woman in the kitchen laughed, a low, dark laugh that gave me chills. Bingo growled, and I realized that the shadow was trying to manipulate me, pretending to be my mom.
That night, I decided to face this situation.
I waited for the house to quiet down. When the woman from the kitchen reappeared, I approached. "Who are you?"
Bingo stayed close, ready to protect me.
"I am your mother, Joana. I will always be here."
No, you're not. The real mother is here and you're not her. When I blinked, she disappeared.
I felt that the battle wasn't over, but now I knew the truth. There were two mothers, and one of them was a ghost trapped in our house trying to trick me. Since that day, whenever I hear my mother call me, I look at Bingo. If he wags his tail and runs to her, I know everything is fine. But if he stands still in silence, I step away, because that mother isn't the real one.
Hey Leo, my name is Juan Pedro. I'm 12 years old, but when this story happened, I was about 10.
So my dad and my mom work at the same hospital.
My mom cooks and my dad is a stretcher bearer.
That day, my mom was working and it was just my dad and me at home. It was around 1:45 in the afternoon and he was taking that little post-lunch nap, you know? The famous siesta as he calls it. I was playing a game on my phone when suddenly I heard a...
Like someone was calling me really loudly.
I got a little scared, but I went to check, right? Who's making that noise? There was nothing. The strange thing is, even my dad sleeping there on the couch didn't hear anything, like the call was just for me. I kept playing my game trying to ignore it, right after I heard that psh again. I went to look out the window and this time I saw, well, right in front of my house there was something there floating. Facing my direction, he was calling me with his finger, as if he wanted me to come closer. At that moment, fear overwhelmed me. I closed the windows, the curtains, ran to my room, slammed the door, and stayed there, untouched under the sheet. I started crying a lot, man. My dad, who was deep asleep, woke up startled, trying to calm me down. But I couldn't really explain to him what I had seen. It's been 2 years since that happened, and I still don't know what it was. Actually, my father often transported many patients at the hospital, including the bodies of people who had already passed on to the other world, right? Who knows, maybe the soul of one of those deceased people could have clung to him. And somehow it came all the way to our house, right? But it couldn't get inside, it stayed outside just calling. Maybe that presence was there, behind my father, and not me trying to communicate or seeking help to move on in peace. To this day, I still have that doubt, but I was never able to find an answer. Are you looking for comics by Leo, Augusto, and Grandma, my friends? Just add this WhatsApp number that's showing up for you and send a message there, man. You'll get a list of available comics.
Alright.
There are both physical and digital versions. Hit them up and get your comic made by Leo. Hello Leo, Augusto, and Grandma. I'm Murilo and have a wild story for you. My grandma's always been eccentric, you know. She had that lavender scent, kept old cookies in the cupboard. And most of all, man, she had a green parrot with a sharp beak and a gaze that seemed to pierce right into my soul. His name was Jack, but I always called him Rascal. I was just a normal kid, you know. I like to do kid stuff, watch cartoons, and of course eat, stuff my belly. The problem was that every time I went to my grandma's house, I had the feeling that my food disappeared in a strange way. I would put my snack in the fridge, you know, and when I came back to get it, everything was gone. It disappeared. Like, my mom would scold me and say I was careless, that I just didn't remember eating it. But I knew it wasn't me, it was him, Jack. The first time I got suspicious, I had left a leftover chicken drumstick in the fridge. My grandmother had made it, right? I left it there, no problem, waiting for when I came back from playing outside, really hungry so I could eat it.
I thought about it all day, just dreaming of taking a bite.
When I opened the fridge at night, man, where's the drumstick? Nothing, it was all gone. I ran to the living room accusing the parrot. It was Jack, he took my chicken. That parrot is such a troublemaker. He already ate my snack before and now my chicken. Are you kidding me? Of course, nobody took what I said seriously, right, Mirilo? Parrots don't eat chicken, my son. They only eat seeds. Stop daydreaming, kid. I already told you I don't like it when you keep lying, okay? But I knew it was him. One day I was quietly sitting in the living room and I noticed that Jack was moving in a strange way in the cage. He looked me straight in the eyes and smiled. I know parrots can't smile, but I swear he was laughing at me, man. And the next second, he opened a little cage door, flapped his wings, and flew straight to the kitchen. I ran after him, but it was already too late. When I got there, he was perched on top of the fridge, pecking at a slice of my ham sandwich. I ran back to the living room, yelling that Jack had stolen my snack. Ah, Murillo, stop it. Jack barely leaves his cage. He's a really old parrot, my son. He wouldn't do that. But I knew the truth. Jack wasn't an ordinary parrot. He was cunning, manipulative, and pretended to be nice in front of adults. But when we were alone, he showed his true colors. I suspected that something was possessing this guy because it just didn't make sense, man. It was Sunday and my mom had made that special lunch. She left the chicken in the fridge for dinner, but when we went to get it, there was nothing left. And there I was once again saying I told you so. It was Jack. This parrot is a thief. He steals food from the fridge. My mom and dad, already out of patience, gave me a real scolding. They said I was making up excuses, that I was crazy, but I knew that rascal was sabotaging me. My mom went to the room where I slept and rummaged through my backpack. There were several pieces of chicken bone there, the chicken that had gone missing. That damn parrot put the evidence of the crime inside my backpack. Man, how did he do that? I couldn't keep up with that crook's moves, and I was grounded for a long time. Today, I don't go to my grandma's house anymore, and whenever someone asks me why, I only say one thing. Watch out for parrots, they might be smarter than you think. I hope you guys enjoyed this bizarre story from the subscribers. And if you want to send a story to appear in this segment here, just send it to this email right here, inscritosleogmail.com. Alright. I'm going to wrap it up here, okay? Bye. Hi Leo, Augusto, and Grandma. My name is Luciana. I'm 12 years old. This happened when I was 10 and in 5th grade. When we entered the classroom, we noticed that everything was knocked over, out of order, chairs were fallen, and the cabinet doors were open. The teacher didn't know what had happened there, man. The day before, everything was in perfect condition. Could it be that vandals broke in there at night and did that? That's what she thought. She called the janitor because she must have seen something since one night she was cleaning all that over there. So she told the teacher a creepy story. Man, I was on the night shift, cleaning everything to leave the school in perfect condition for the students who would come in the morning. The school where I studied had 2 floors. The janitor had already cleaned the first one and was on the second. While she was in the last classroom, which was across from the girls' bathroom, she looked at the bathroom and saw a woman in white with dark hair staring at her. Frightened, she froze, waiting to see what would occur. She gripped her broom tightly, ready to defend herself from this strange intruder standing in front of her. The woman left and went to the rooms. She entered them frantically, one after another. She seemed to be wet as she left a trail behind. After a while, that woman wandering around the school, she went back to the bathroom and the janitor only heard the toilet flush after that. When she went to check to see where the woman was, she had disappeared.
She vanished completely.
He said that in the past, that place used to be a cemetery and then they built this school on top of it. Besides that, she said it wasn't the first time she saw things out of place scattered around the classroom. And she said she was already used to seeing people walking around the school at night when everything was closed during her shift.
Always the same pattern.
They would leave the bathroom, wander around the place, and then go back and disappear with a flash.
It's worth noting that she still works there. I don't know how she has the courage to stay there on the night shift. That was my story. Leo, Augusto, and Grandma, bye.
What is this? I'm Giselle, 12 from Fortaleza, Chiara. I'm going to tell a true story that happened to my father about 22 years ago. At that time, he was 12 years old. Near where he lived, there was a forest called Mata de Varota. My father and two friends went out to hunt birds and pick fruits. When they reached a certain point in the Mata de Varjota, they found a very tall wall. My father and his friends climbed up on the wall and suddenly looked over, inside. They saw an old bearded man wearing leather clothes and a hat holding a shotgun. The old bearded man stood there watching them for about 10 seconds. Then he pointed the shotgun at them and said, "Leave here and go away." They didn't think twice and jumped over the wall, running as fast as they could to get away from that threat.
After 100 meters, they realized they left their belongings behind.
They left so desperately that they forgot their loot. They stopped running, gathered their courage, and went back.
When they arrived at the place, they found their belongings in the same spot where they had dropped them. But the old bearded man was no longer there. It seemed like he had vanished. A week after what happened, my father went to the house of his father's friend.
He was over 50 years old and told what happened to him and his friends.
His father's old friend told the same story about the old bearded man who also appeared to him once when he entered the forest. He explained that this old bearded man was the owner of the forest known as Mata de Varjota and that he had died in a car accident many years ago. My father was frightened when he found out he had seen a ghost. That same bearded man appeared again to some of my father's colleagues in 2017. Coming out of a thorny forest with his shotgun in hand, asking them to leave. Is this story real, the one that happened to my father, Leo, Augusto, and Grandma? Thank you very much for reading my story. Hi everyone, my name is Dennis, and today I'm going to tell a story that happened when I was dating a girl from school. It turns out her parents didn't like me. They got angry when they found out about our relationship. But one day, they decided to invite me over for dinner at their house as an opportunity to get to know me better, right? I arrived at their house and to my surprise, the main dish was fish. The problem is that I hated fish, man, but I didn't want to refuse my in-laws food. And that's when things started to get weird. While I was trying to hide my discomfort eating fish, suddenly I saw the fish talking to me. Yes, the fish was staring at me and said, "Dennis, are you really going to eat me, man? You know that when I hit your stomach, I'm gonna mess you up, right?" I was perplexed, but I kept eating. However, after I finished the meal, I started feeling sick, man. I projectile vomited on my girlfriend's face and everyone at the table. It was a total disaster, man. Without thinking much, I ran out of their house, trying to forget what had just happened. Days went by, and I started to feel discomfort in my throat, but I ignored it until I realized my throat was getting swollen and inflamed. Swallowing saliva caused unbearable pain.
That's when I found out a fishbone had gotten stuck in my throat, lodged right there. Moral of the story, never underestimate the power of a disastrous dinner. And of course, be careful when your food talks to you. I think I was so nervous that I saw things that day. Man, who knows, right? Oh, and after that day, our relationship was over. Coelho is the tough guy. You can call me Zeta. My story with Miguel Zinho is something that still leaves me perplexed to this day. He was a lazy kid in my class, always dodging studies and causing trouble at school. Can you believe that once he set off a firecracker on the school bench? Anyway, he was a troublemaker and his grades were terrible. Then unexpectedly, they began to improve greatly. The teachers suspected that he was cheating. That's right, copying the correct answers from smart students to get good grades. But they didn't find any concrete evidence that he was doing that. In a surprising way, he managed to recover his grades. As his classmate, I just couldn't believe it. How could someone so uninterested in studying suddenly get such high grades out of nowhere? In one of the exams, I sat a little behind him to watch him, but I couldn't see anything suspicious. Maybe he had something written on his hands, I don't know. Before it was only 0 and 2, right? Trashy grades and suddenly there were 9, 5, 10, what? Curious, I asked him his secret to good grades. That's when Miguel Zinho mentioned someone named Simons who was helping him. However, there was no student with that name at the school. Is it tutoring? And is his teacher named Simons? So he said it was a spirit that had been found a few weeks ago in the abandoned yard at the back of the school. He also said that Simons was a former student who loved the school. Even after he died, he stayed there, wandering around, right, man? Here's how those two worked. While Miguel Zinho took the test, the spirit would visit the smart students and pass the information on to him. That way, he wouldn't raise any suspicion and would guarantee his high grades. Over time, I noticed that Miguel Zinho was visibly thinner and paler, but his grades remained flawless. I thought he was crazy and had a problem. Don't believe that nonsense. He managed to pass the year, but the following year he just didn't come back anymore. According to family members, they said the boy had health problems and passed away. Well, if the story he told was true, I believe that this supposed help to get good grades didn't come without a price. The spirit seems to have taken the boy's health, leaving him in an irreversible state. Miguel Zinho's story is a grim reminder that many times the easiest solutions can come at a high price. Thank you for choosing me. Hi Leo, Augusto, and Grandma. I'm Livia, 14 years old. This story happened to me when I was 9. My grandfather had recently passed away from old age, and I went to my grandparents' house to see how my grandmother was doing. It can't be easy to lose a loved one, can it? I was a very curious and adventurous child, so I went to the dining room, which was empty and had no one in it. In that room, there was a door that looked into the kitchen and also into the 3 bedrooms. When I started spinning around in the room, I saw a shadowy figure coming out of the kitchen and heading toward my grandmother's bedroom. It was the silhouette of a hunchbacked man who used a cane, just like my grandfather, who had passed away. I didn't think twice, and after seeing the figure, I ran out of there and went to the porch where my parents and my grandmother were talking. I never told anyone about it until last year, when I finally had the courage to tell my grandmother what I had seen that day. She said she believed every word I said. But my mother and father, when they heard about it, didn't believe any of it. They thought it was just my imagination. Sometimes I tried spinning around again to see if I could see the figure of my late grandfather, but after that day, I was never able to do it again. Still, I sense things in my grandmother's house. Even though it's filled with crosses, pictures of Jesus' face, and even porcelain statues of Saint Cinto, it's as if there are always people watching me there in that house. There's always a very heavy energy inside there. I kept wondering, when you spun around at that moment,
Did you access an area of your mind capable of seeing the spirit world?
From your vision, the veil of reality was lifted and what is hidden was shown.
Hi, Leo, Augusto, and Grandma. I'm Moxley.
I want to tell you about a bizarre event that happened to me about 2 years ago. Like every night, I always go out to ride my bike around the streets out there. My city is very calm and peaceful, and riding at night helps me put my thoughts in order.
But on one particular night, something strange happened.
Around 10 o'clock, I saw a kind of light fall from the sky straight to the ground. It looked like someone had thrown something down from above, since that unknown object was falling straight down at a 90-degree angle. I realized the object was falling near me. So I pedaled as fast as I could to see if I could find anything, but I didn't find absolutely anything. On another night, around the same time, I was also riding my bike. And then I saw two lights. This time they weren't falling but flying. Their flight was so perfect that I thought they could be drones, but no drone is made entirely of light. Plus, it's spherical and about the size of 2 tennis balls. This time I saw the lights when I got close. One of them flew upward in the opposite direction from me, while the other started to speed up and turn off its light. But even with its dim light, it was possible to see a sphere flying. It seemed like those objects noticed that I saw them, and then they started trying to hide, right? Reports from my friends came up. They said they saw a strange light fall on top of a gym. Maybe they were the same lights, but I'm not sure since I didn't see anything that day. To this day, I don't know what those lights are. I thought they could be birds, drones, toys, or even natural phenomena, but none of that fits. What I believe the most is that they were spirits, or maybe, who knows, aliens. Thank you for reading my story, Leo Augusto and Grandma Hugs. Hello, Leo Augusto and Grandma. I'm Emily. I'm 11 years old. Not long ago, something very strange happened to me and my younger brother. We had moved to a new house and city. It was a big place with a huge backyard. The house was only 1 story.
My brother and I loved that place.
And we went to play right away until the moving truck arrived, right? Along with my parents, my brother and I were with a nanny that day. So we started playing. First we played tag, then we went to play hide and seek. And that's when things started to get creepy. I was counting while he was hiding. When I finished, I walked all over the house and couldn't find him. So I decided to look in the only place I hadn't been. The basement was down there, the laundry room was really big and had lots of hiding spots, a great place to hole up and not be found. Could he be here? While I was looking for him, I marked a possible hiding spot for me to use. When it was his turn to count while I was walking, the washing machine turned on by itself. I went to check it out, scared, you know? When I was near it, I heard him coughing. You probably pressed the button by accident, right, my little brother? Revealing your location, I put my hand on your shoulder and called out, "Right, I found you!" He stayed still, and then I heard my brother shout, 1, 2, 3 for me, I win. He was shouting from upstairs. When I heard that, I froze. Right then, I moved away from that thing and kept watching. It was standing there, looking at me. It started coming toward me slowly and then got faster. That wasn't my brother. Who is this crazy guy? What is he doing here in the basement of my new house? Then my brother showed up on the stairs and said, "Emily, I already won. Go count again." And when I looked at that thing, it was gone. I ran out of there, pulling my little brother. I told him what had happened, and he went to check it out, right? Out of curiosity. I didn't want to let him go, but he went anyway. He stayed for only about 30 seconds and came back pale, confirming the sighting. It seemed like we had a bizarre child living in our basement. Then my parents' truck came back, right? And every night we would hear footsteps from that thing around the house, constantly knocking on our door. It was a real hell living in that house that just moments before we had been loving. After 6 in the evening, I don't walk around the house anymore, and I don't go near that basement. It happens several times that my parents are sleeping and someone knocks on the door. They come to us and tell us to stop playing around because they're trying to sleep. We say it's the boy from the basement, but they don't believe us because they've already checked and there's nothing down there. I'm not sure what's happening. Leo, Augusto, and Grandma. Hi Leo, my name is Gabriela, but you can call me Gabi. Well, I'm 12 years old, but when I was 9 or so, I didn't have many friends at school. I was always alone, so one day I decided to create an imaginary friend. Her name was Lisa. I couldn't see her, but I just pretended she was there next to me. I went to school with her, gave her food, put her to sleep with me, and did everyday things. You know, man, even washed the dishes. Lisa was with me. My mom thought it was funny, but she told me to be careful not to go crazy. As time went by, I grew up. So I turned 11 years old, and I didn't remember Lisa that much anymore. One day I was getting ready to go to school. I like to dress really colorful, you know. After finishing lunch, I went to put my plate in the sink, and I looked at the place where there was a little room with a washing machine. And there I saw a girl with long black hair, jeans, and a black shirt. She was very pale. It looked like she had dry skin. I got scared just watching, and then she turned around. I saw her face and remembered Lisa. I remembered that in my imagination she looked like that. But why the hell was I seeing her right now? My mom called my name and Lisa introduced herself. She said she was ready to go to school with me. I ran to my mom's room and started crying out of fear. Then I revealed to her that Lisa, that imaginary friend from the past, had come back to me.
My mom said it was just my imagination.
After that, I was never the same again. Nowadays, I see a psychologist, just so you know how big the trauma was. So after that day, I never saw her again. I guess she's probably friends with another child now. That's my story. Thanks, Leo, Augusto, and Grandma for choosing me.